Welcome to RCC's Math Tape 073, Solving Linear Equations number 2. As the name indicates, this is the second tape about solving linear equations. On this tape, you will be expected to know the addition property of equations, the multiplication property of equations, and how to simplify expressions involving variables and constants. If you have trouble doing any of these things, you need to review tapes 071 and 072 to learn how to solve equations, and earlier tapes 064 and 065 to learn how to simplify expressions. As we go through these exercises and examples, you will notice that they are quite a bit more complicated than the ones on the last tape. Be sure to be thoroughly accurate on everything that you write down. If you make mistakes on the notes on this, it can cause you some problems that will stay with you for quite a while. If there's anything you don't understand, or if there's any place you have trouble getting correct answers on the exercises I give you, be sure to mark on your notes where you're having trouble so you can get help in the lab from an instructor or a tutor. Now let's begin. On this tape, our objective is to solve linear equations by simplifying and using the addition and multiplication properties. The different thing about this one is that we are simplifying expressions in addition to using the addition property of equations and the multiplication property of equations. Our first example will illustrate the need to simplify. Example 1 reads 3 times x subtract 4 equals 4x subtract the expression in parentheses 2 subtract x. The equals mark divides the equation into two parts, the left side and the right side. On the left side, there is some simplification that can be done. The 3 can be multiplied by the expression in parentheses. On the right-hand side, we likewise have simplification possible. We have a minus sign preceding the parentheses, which tells us to take the opposite of what is in the parentheses, or to use a -1 coefficient before the parentheses. Also, there will be some further simplification that can be done after we remove these parentheses. Let's begin by changing subtraction to add the opposite so that we can follow the rules exactly. We change subtract 4 to add -4. We change subtract parentheses to subtract 1 times the parentheses, which means add -1 times the parentheses. And inside the parentheses we have 2 subtract x, which we can change to 2 add the opposite of x. Now the distributive property allows us to multiply 3 times x plus -4 to get 3x plus -12. Let's skip to this line. 3x plus -12 equals 4x plus -1 times 2 is -2 plus -1 times the opposite of x is x. So 3x plus -12 equals 4x plus -2 plus x. On the left side, we have a variable term and a constant term. They're added. We cannot combine variable and constant terms. On the right side, we have variable term, constant term, and another variable term. The two variable terms can be combined. 4x plus x, understood 1x, is 5x. So the right-hand side can be simplified to 5x plus -2. This gives us 3x plus -12 is equal to 5x plus -2. Notice that on the left side we have a variable term and a constant term. Likewise, on the right side, a variable term and a constant term. That means that we have simplified everything that can be simplified. Therefore, it is time to apply the addition property of equations to remove the constant term from the left and variable term from the right. Let's begin by removing the negative 12. To remove a negative 12 that's added, we'll add positive 12 and get 3x plus negative 12 plus positive 12 equals 5x plus negative 2 plus positive 12. The extra term that's added on both sides is positive 12. On the left, adding negative 12 and positive 12 gives us 0. 3x plus 0 is simply 3x. And so we get 3x on the left side. On the right side, we have 5x plus negative 2 plus 12. Adding negative 2 and 12 gives us 10. So we have 5x plus 10. Now we remove the variable term from the right side. To remove the 5x that's added, we add its opposite. The opposite of 5x is negative 5x, and so we'll add negative 5x to the left side and negative 5x to the right side. That gives us 3x plus negative 5x is equal to 5x plus 10 plus negative 5x. Adding 3x and negative 5x gives negative 2x. On the right side, the 5x and negative 5x add to 0. 10 plus 0 is simply 10, and so we get negative 2x on the left and 10 on the right. We now have variable term on the left, constant term on the right. All that's left is to eliminate the coefficient of x. To eliminate a coefficient, we divide by the coefficient, so we divide both sides of this equation by negative 2. Negative 2x divided by 2 is x. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And so our answer is negative 5. X equals negative 5. As usual, we need to check this answer to be sure that it's correct. Our original equation was 3x subtract 4, this was subtract 4, equals 4x subtract 1 times 2 subtract x. So we'll copy the original equation exactly as it was for the check. 3 times x subtract 4 equals 4x subtract 2 subtract x. Then our T format for the check, remember the vertical line goes below the equals mark, and the left side is considered as the side on one side of a wall that we cannot cross. So we copy 3 parentheses and then a set of parentheses to enclose the x value that we'll fill in, then subtract 4 a parenthesis. So here we have 3 times parentheses subtract 4. On the right, in place of x, we fill in a set of parentheses, so we have 4 times a set of parentheses, then subtract, then in parentheses, 2 subtract a set of parentheses for the x. Now the value that we're checking is negative 5, so we'll fill in negative 5 in place of the parentheses, negative 5, and negative 5, and negative 5. Then that gives us 2 expressions to be simplified. On the left side, we have, in parentheses, negative 5 subtract 4, which is negative 5 plus negative 4, or negative 9. So we have 3 times negative 9. On the right, we have 4 times negative 5, which is negative 20. And then in parentheses 2 subtract negative 5, which is 2 plus 5, or 7. So we have negative 20 subtract 7. Then all that's left is to simplify on either side. 3 times negative 9 is negative 27, and negative 20 subtract 7 is negative 27. This says that the problem checks out as being correct for the solution of x equals negative 5, and so our answer is x equals negative 5.